Hello, I am Ron Baker. Welcome to Empowered at Last. Today we're going to talk about a subject that desperately needs some deeper understanding and compassion. Today we're going to talk about duality and opposition. What in the world do I mean? Simply, duality is the opposition of two perspectives, two sides, right, wrong, good, bad, reward, punishment. We live in a world that seems to be trapped in duality and opposition, and it's accelerating. It's getting worse. We so need to understand, where does it come from? How do we nurture it? How do we resolve it? How do we help all of the fear that we see in the world, the divisiveness that we see in the world, anything that is not the same as me, any person would need to say, I somehow feel threatened by, is where it starts. Anything that's outside of my familiar comfort zone, I make wrong because I fear and perceived threat. We're going to get to the bottom of where this all comes from and why we're trapped in such protection and defense and even wounded narcissism. I will explain what this means, where it comes from, and how it keeps us in a world accelerating duality and opposition. We look to the United States as one example. For years, there has been an acceleration of two political parties. We no longer are working together to try and take advantage of more than one perspective, coming together to offer those perspectives to come up with the best solutions that serve the most people, that serve the good of the whole. This is the opportunity of more than one perspective, but if we're trapped in wounded narcissism, then we for sure are going to end up in opposition of anything outside my limited comfort zone perspective. We are seeing all kinds of accelerations, all kinds of divisiveness. We see racism, we see phobias, whether it's Islamophobia or homophobia. We see misogyny, we see so many groups, even back to our governments, where we are supposed to have elected leaders who are going to set us up well. Well, until we understand duality and where it comes from, we can't really create solutions in any kind of consistent, reliable way. This is how powerful it is. This is how huge it is that we have this conversation and that we deepen our education about where duality and opposition actually come from. The good news, I know from having taught people all over the world, from visiting so many different countries and cultures and religions, from having clients of every race and practically every religion, I know certain things to be true. One is that we share the way our lives are set up with certain foundational needs. We all know about survival needs. We know about needing food and shelter and clothing in order to be safe and warm. This is not the needs that I'm referring to. The needs I'm referring to are nurturing needs. The need to discover about self. The need to develop an inner trust of self. The need for certain levels of nurturing and acknowledgement that give us a trust in self and a trust in life and a trust of learning to work together with others so that we enhance one another's lives rather than oppose and defend in duality. So, if we had parents who knew how to provide 9 specific nurturing needs, we would have all learned to feel safe, connected, with affection, acknowledgement, compassion, guidance, support, and encouragement, that we matter, that we are safe, that we are championed to become the individuals that we authentically are. However, when mommy and daddy do not have the education about these 9 nurturing needs, they can't provide them. If I asked you to provide me with an education about building a jet engine at this moment, 99.99% of you would not be able to offer that to me, even if I needed it. Fortunately, these specific nurturing needs that I'm talking about are ones that every person shares. Every person builds a sense of self based on these physical, emotional, and mental needs. So if each of us was championed, we would learn to trust that our needs matter, trust that it's possible for our needs to be met, and then when we're old enough, we will be taught how to identify and meet our own needs. We will create a sense of safety and connection to ourselves. We will acknowledge what we each prefer and what our interests are and our talents are. We will acknowledge and encourage and support ourselves to fulfill our needs, and we will come together with one another to fulfill and support each person's individual vision and needs. Well, if in the first 8 years of our lives we did not receive this kind of championing based on the nurturing experience that we needed, if we did not get that, then we go into fear, shame, and judgment. We go into a mistrust of people, starting with mommy and daddy. We don't know how to put all the pieces together, but we realize that we're not being nurtured and championed. Therefore, we don't feel safe. We don't feel connected. We don't feel informed and acknowledged. We don't trust compassion. We don't trust clear guidance, support, and encouragement. Does that sound familiar? I have taught thousands of people around the world, and I've never taught one person who claimed to have received the depth of nurturing that we all need. The great news? It is possible to learn how to fill in these missing gaps. But before we get to the solution, let's talk about this challenge and how we end up in duality. Mommy and daddy are the source of everything we need, even our survival needs. So we look to them, and our very survival depends upon them. So we do whatever we have to adjust into that source of our safety, of our survival. So we look to them to give us all the clues and the information. If they did not grow up trusting their own individuality because their parents gave them the 9 nurturing needs that championed their true individuality, then they will be passing on familiar rules, limitations, comfort zones. For me, as an example, whenever I got old enough at 4, 5, 6 to have my own opinions, what did I get hit with? Are you contradicting me? What? What do you think that equaled? Ron, you do not have permission to have your own opinion. You must agree with me. Now, they were not logically thinking that they were squashing my individuality with such a statement. I guarantee you, my mother was only repeating her parents who had said, "Don't you contradict me. Don't have your own individual perspectives. You must follow my rules. You must fit into my comfort zone." And so we learn, instead of being nurtured and championed, we learn to please, to fit in, to try and guarantee the best sense of safety we can, which equals, when we're little, it equals just having a safe place to be in their comfort zone, getting our survival needs met. This is a far cry from championing individuality and teaching our nervous systems to trust that the world is a safe place that can acknowledge each one of us as an individual. Instead, it's teaching us that there are certain requirements, there are certain limitations. If I go to share my feelings, as an example, and mommy and daddy are not safe with their feelings, they're not going to be safe with my feelings. And so instead of, "Wow, Ron, I see that you're feeling sad. Of course you're safe to feel this feeling. I'm right here. Let me provide some nurturing and safety for you to feel and express all of your feelings. Your joy, your sadness. All of your feelings are safe and wonderful. I will show you how to express them so that you're not acting them out, so that you have some healthy boundaries. But all of who you are is safe and sacred." Well, I ain't ever met anybody who showed up with that kind of education. The good news continues to be, it is never too late to learn the healthy alternatives. So if my sadness wasn't okay, my anger wasn't okay, my joy, my exuberance was not okay, if my opinions were not okay, guess what that equals? Good and bad, right and wrong. If somebody says, "Don't you contradict me," it equals my perspective is good and right, and yours is wrong and bad. Duality. If my feelings come up and I want to express them, certain feelings are acceptable within mommy and daddy's comfort zones, and certain feelings are not acceptable. If you don't stop crying, I'm going to give you something to cry about. That's what I heard. If you're going to be angry, you go to your room. Rather than, "Wow, look at all these feelings that are awakening within you. Let me help you. Let me guide you. Let me champion you. Let me nurture you and teach you that all of your feelings transcend duality." Now, they wouldn't have said these words when we were 3 or 5, but this would have been the message that we would now bring into adulthood. All of your feelings inform you. All of your feelings deepen the meaning of your life. All of your feelings are safe and acceptable. There are not good feelings and bad feelings. Well, that is not what I learned. I learned that my feelings were some good, some bad, some acceptable, some unacceptable. This is where duality begins. So we do our best, and we adjust, and we squash, and we bury any feelings that were not acceptable. We squash and bury any choices that were not acceptable. We squash and bury any perspectives of shared individuality that were not acceptable, for the most part. Now, I think I've got it all figured out. I'll just do what my mommy-daddy family system taught me I had to do, not to champion my individuality, but just to be safe enough to be accepted in the group, the family. then I have a problem. This is my new version of right. Everything my mommy daddy taught me is right. So I've got to do that. But then we move out into the world and we encounter other family systems. And they have different rules and different decisions about what was right and wrong and good and bad. And so now it's my family system against your family system, because my child doesn't feel safe to embrace individuality. My child thinks this is how I have to be or I'll feel threatened. I'll be rejected or humiliated. I'll be made wrong. Not feeling safe and championed as an individual. So now I have to fight and oppose your family system. And now we've got family against family. And then I was told that my religion was the right religion. Oh my goodness gracious. I remember being so confused and hurt with people that I loved when I was little, and I was going, wait, you're telling me that their religion is not the right religion? They're not lovable? Oh my goodness. Well, if I already know what it feels like to have decided that parts of me are unlovable, parts of me are stuck in good, bad, right, wrong, well, now I'm going to put it out into the world about the right religion and the wrong religion, the right race and the wrong race, the right culture and the wrong culture. You get the point. This is duality. And we bring it into our big systems, our governmental systems, our economic systems. And we say, oh my gosh, you have to be a Democrat. You have to be a Republican. You have to be a Tory and a Whig. I choose other than the United States from old systems. Whatever my family told me was right is what my child self learned to embrace. I remember going to college and having conversation with people, and I love to get to know people. And so I would ask all kinds of questions, and they would say, oh, well, I believe this. And I would go, wow, that's so interesting. That's different than what I learned. Why do you believe that? Why does that move you? Why does that touch you? I was baffled that most of us had no idea what we really felt and believed and trusted as an individual. Most of us were merely parroting our parents, what the most dominant perspective had been at home, and anything else was squashed. So we had duality and domination and squashing and invalidation in the family, and so we learned to go with the most dominating perspective. We'll all agree to pretend. And then we move out in the world, and here I am asking my college friends what they believe, and we're parroting our family systems. Now, most people haven't had the education to understand that the deepest truth is not this learned, wounded, fearful duality. The deepest truth is you matter as an individual. The deeper truth is you deserve to be championed as an individual. You deserve a space to feel safe, connected, acknowledged, accepted, with respect and compassion. We all deserve, like little children, a safe place to be individuals. If we decide to learn how to heal duality, the opposing sides, and we learn how to first build a sense of self and to fill in these nurturing needs, then we will be able to heal the divisiveness. We'll be able to heal the phobias, the racism, the misogyny, the judgment of anything that we feel in our wounded narcissism is going to threaten me figuring out how to fulfill my needs and be right. I have to somehow fulfill my needs and be right. Or, in duality, that equals I'm wrong and bad and unlovable. And so we see it everywhere. Democrats opposing Republicans. Who's right, who's wrong, who's good, who's bad. We see different cultures. Which one is right and wrong? Which religion is right and wrong? I hope that you have begun to understand this a little better. We need to talk about this. We need to talk about the solutions. As a matter of fact, I feel so passionate about this subject. I'm going to do another podcast next week to talk about some healing solutions, to talk about this dangerous subject of duality and opposition. It is entirely possible to heal and resolve this. Why do I know this is true? Because I have resolved layer after layer, percentage after percentage of my own fear, shame, and judgment, my own myths of duality and opposition in myself. I have learned to claim my own individual sacred self, and I have spent the last 25 years teaching thousands of others how to take so many steps into a life that is freer and freer, that feels safe to come together with other individuals, to treat one another in mutual respect and value. So much more is possible, but unless we get this education on duality and opposition, we are in deep trouble. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Please pass the word about these podcasts. We all need this vital education. I thank you. Please reach out to me if you have questions. I want to help. I know that I can. I know that it's possible to resolve duality and opposition. So, have a great week, and I look forward to sharing more perspectives with you soon. Take care. Be good to you. As a matter of fact, I'll close with my typical mantra. Choose well, live fully, and by all means be good to you.